Hello, and welcome to this presentation on accessing occupational therapy services as a foster caregiver. So the topics that I will be covering in this presentation are what is occupational therapy, when to reach out for occupational therapy services, and where to access occupational therapy services. So first of all, what is occupational therapy? Pediatric occupational therapists help children engage in everyday occupations and daily routines, and specifically targets various developmental areas, including fine, visual, and gross motor skills, sensory processing, emotional regulation, executive functioning, and self-care skills. Fine motor skills involves the use of smaller muscles in the wrist, hand, and fingers to make precise, refined movements. Fine motor skills are typically involved in functional tasks such as holding a writing utensil, manipulating small items, holding blocks, and manipulating buttons or zippers. Fine motor skills are important because they are a prerequisite for many self-care, academic, and functional play skills. Sufficient fine motor skills enable a child to achieve successes in their daily life, which in turn can boost their sense of confidence, competence, and independence. Visual motor skills involve the integration of visual information with motor output in order to use the hands and the eyes in a coordinated manner. Another familiar term for this is hand-eye coordination. More specifically, this skill area requires the perception of one's environment, aka, a line on a piece of paper, to execute efficient motor patterns like cutting along the line with the scissors. Visual motor skills are a foundational skill for many activities, including tying shoelaces, writing one's name, using scissors, and catching a ball. Gross motor skills involve the use of large muscles of the body to perform whole body movements in a coordinated manner. Being able to perform coordinated gross motor movements frequently requires the stabilization of the trunk through strong core and postural muscles. When we strengthen the larger muscles of the body, we're providing a stable base from which the smaller muscles of the body are able to perform coordinated, refined movements. These gross motor movements include rolling and crawling at a young age, to walking, playing sports, and getting dressed at an older age. Sensory processing involves registering, organizing, and integrating information from our body and the environment in order to make appropriate responses to our surroundings on a daily basis. This is important because it impacts our ability to respond to the world around us, which impacts everything that we do. When a child is able to make sense of incoming sensory input, they're able to make the appropriate responses. Skill mastery can be seen through regulated attention, behavior, and emotional state. Emotional regulation is the ability to control one's emotions, behaviors, impulses, attention, and energy level. It allows children to manage various experiences that they'll have throughout their lives, and to decrease the ongoing impact of stress that can contribute to these experiences. Executive functioning skills are involved in goal-directed activities. They are important because they allow children to regulate and complete tasks in all aspects of their lives. Not only does it apply to functional tasks such as being able to plan, remember, and organize tasks, but it also relies heavily on emotional regulation. Strong executive functioning skills can be recognized as impulse control, self-monitoring, and regulation, as well as the flexibility to move from one situation to another. Executive functioning skills can also affect a child's ability to concentrate and perform in academic settings, as well as their ability to act appropriately in social situations. Self-care skills involve the ability to care for one's own needs across a range of contexts, such as the school, home, and community. The following actions are commonly included within the skill set: self-feeding, drinking, dressing, bathing, grooming, things like toothbrushing, combing hair, and nail trimming, as well as toileting. So where do OTs work? The first would be in a school. The OTs provide services within the school that meet the needs of educational success, which can be a wide variety of things. They also work in hospitals for acute or subacute challenges that a child may be facing. They work in outpatient clinics for more long-term periods of time, typically seeing autism and ADHD in the outpatient clinic, but many other diagnoses as well. There's also early intervention services, which would typically come to the home, and they are state-funded services that provide for children ages 0 to 3. And they're also, occupational therapy is also out in the community at various organizations throughout. When to reach out for occupational therapy services. So the first would be if you notice a delay in the development of your child. So this could be physical development, cognition, social, emotional, or communication. So physical development would look like things like walking, handwriting, feeding themselves, areas like that. Cognition would include behaviors like being interested in new toys, learning to count, copying behaviors of others. Social emotional areas would be things like smiling to get attention, knowing familiar people, playing with other children, following simple rules, and self-soothing after becoming upset. And lastly, communication. This would be exemplified by making eye contact, taking turns, making sounds, asking for help when it's needed, keeping a conversation going, or telling a story. There are various ages that we would expect for a typically developing child to start doing each of these things. There's more detailed information regarding developmental delays and listed out specifically by age in another video as part of these presentations. The CDC also has a lot of great information on some red flags to be aware of regarding a child's development. The second time to reach out for OT services would be with learning challenges. So if you notice that the child is having difficulty keeping up with their peers in school, or being able to maintain an age-appropriate attention or focus during school, this would be a good time to kind of bring it up to the teacher or the school therapist on if you could get an evaluation. And also if there's difficulty with daily tasks. So this could be things like play and leisure. If the child is not playing or having difficulty playing appropriately, mental health areas, struggling with self-soothing, emotional regulation, and then just any issues with their daily routine. It can be really helpful to mention it and reach out for OT services. So, where would you reach out for OT services? The main one would be talking to your pediatrician. So taking notes, if you ever recognize something that you may suspect could be a developmental delay or a learning challenge or just any difficulty with your daily routines, taking notes of that and mentioning it at the next pediatrician appointment. They'll be able to provide more information regarding OT services. If the child is age 0 to 3, the pediatrician may refer to early intervention services. And then if the child is older than 3, the pediatrician may refer to outpatient services, and they would also be eligible for school services within CPS. So mentioning it to whether that be the school or a pediatrician would be your best bet to receive those services if you think they might be necessary. At the schools, they will complete an IEP evaluation, which helps create a plan for various services and adaptations within the school environment that will support the child to the best of their ability. here is a reference. And thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful for you.
You done?
Yes.
I got an email back from the lady.
From the sleep study?
Yeah.
I saw that.
Also, I didn't realize that the